Okay, so here we are again. So chapter 7, so the next subtopic, yeah. So previously we have learned 7.1 and 7.2. So 7.1 is on respiration. So what's respiration? So the equation for respiration, so that you should have to know, okay. So for 7.2 we have learned about aerobic respiration. Okay, aerobic respiration where the oxygen is fully supplied. I mean, it's not a limiting source. Okay, so when you have a lot of oxygen, the respiration, the cellular respiration can happen as usual. Okay, so in 7.3, alright, fermentation. Okay, the title for it is fermentation. But before we can know about fermentation, go a little bit on anaerobic respiration. Okay, so aerobic respiration is you have learned. Okay, we have seen, and then now we will see this anaerobic. So if you see the spelling here, alright, anaerobic is just an. Okay, so aerobic means we have oxygen. Okay, we have plenty of oxygen, and this oxygen can be used as the electron receptor. Okay, electron is acceptor at the end of electron transport chain with the process. Okay, the cellular respiration. Remember, yeah, we start with glycolysis. After that, Krebs cycle, the citric acid cycle, and then we have last one, electron transport chain. Okay, ETC, where the electron is received by the oxygen. So when the oxygen is received by the oxygen, we call it aerobic respiration. But when it's not, okay, when the acceptor is not the oxygen, okay, then it's an aerobic respiration. Okay, so anaerobic respiration happen when we do not have sufficient oxygen. So in comparison, okay, we will have smaller amount of energy during anaerobic respiration. Okay, so basically overview, yeah, anaerobic respiration, okay, happen due at the aerobic and anaerobic, okay, both will happen at the cytosol. Okay, then they will enter the mitochondria or the mitochondrial matrix. Okay, where aerobic respiration continue with the Krebs cycle, and then with the Krebs cycle, then ETC, yes. Okay, electron transport chain. Okay, so we have the Krebs cycle and then we have this electron transport chain. So that is aerobic. Okay, so for anaerobic, okay, for anaerobic, it happens when it's yes, less or no oxygen. Okay, so when oxygen is not present or not sufficient, or in a very stress condition, okay, anaerobic respiration happen. Okay, that is anaerobic. So anaerobic, after most of the time, we will consider at I mean, there is another pathway for anaerobic. Okay, we call it the fermentation. Okay, fermentation. So most of the time, or mean commonly, we will take anaerobic as fermentation. Okay, but actually not really lah. Okay, to be exact, anaerobic is just the receiver is not oxygen, and then one of the anaerobic, the type of anaerobic is fermentation. Okay, where the oxygen is not needed also. Okay, so for fermentation we have two types. Okay, one is the alcohol. Okay, when we produce alcohol or the ethanol. The word all mean alcohol lah. Okay, another one is when we produce lactic or lactic acid. So this happen in the animal cell, this one in the plant or the yeast. Okay, we will use two examples later. Okay, so this is anaerobic overview. Okay, so now what is anaerobic respiration? As I mentioned before, I mean previously. Okay, anaerobic means you will begin the same way. Okay, we highlight. So we begin the same way. Same way means as aerobic. Okay, that means you will start with glucose, then break down into pyruvate, then enter Krebs cycle, and then enter ETC or electron transport chain. Okay, then is the first step is still glycolysis, so you can read here. Yeah, then anaerobic will create pyruvate, the same. Then it will continue the same path. You see, same path as aerobic respiration. So what's the difference then? Anaerobic and aerobic. Okay, so it will still process the Krebs cycle, etc. However, you see, the final acceptor, I mean the one that receives the electron, okay, final electron acceptor is not oxygen. In aerobic, it's not the oxygen, okay, and then who will receive this electron, okay. So in most of the bacteria and the microorganism, okay, their final electron acceptor will be the nitrate ion, sulfate ion, and or even the carbon dioxide. So this is for anaerobic respiration. So if we want to study anaerobic respiration, it's actually very wide, okay, very wide. So we just focus on a smaller portion of it, okay, where we see fermentation, okay, fermentation, which is in the later part. So this one I got it from online, okay. Okay, this comparison of aerobic is not in your book also, so it's a comparison between aerobic and anaerobic element. Okay, where is something missing there? Okay, so it's between aerobic and anaerobic. Okay, so here the anaerobic that we compare is actually fermentation. Okay, I got it from the online, but it's actually fermentation. Yeah, just to know. Okay, it's more to fermentation rather than anaerobic. Okay, fermentation. Okay, just take note. Fermentation. Okay, it's very hard to write like this. Okay, fermentation. Okay, so most of the time when you all go Google or search online, when you search the difference between aerobic and anaerobic, you must be aware of it. Okay, you must aware, because most of the time you will get the difference between aerobic and fermentation. Okay, not really aerobic and anaerobic, because most of the place they will take fermentation as part of anaerobic, and that's why they do the difference. Okay, so let us continue with fermentation. Okay, fermentation is another anaerobic. So this one actually fermentation is part of anaerobic because it doesn't use oxygen. Okay, so but it is not anaerobic. Actually, is just a little bit same. Okay, the rest of the pathway will be different. The one that is similar with anaerobic is only the breaking down of glucose. Okay, you can see here the one that is only the same with anaerobic is breaking down of glucose, okay, which also the same as aerobic. But after that, okay, anaerobic will enter the Krebs cycle. Just the electron transportation is different. But for fermentation, after glycolysis, everything is different. Okay, so everything is different, and this happened due to the lack of oxygen. Okay? So what is it different? Okay, the first thing is the breaking down. Okay, from pyruvate, okay, the final product is different. Okay, from different means from the aerobic, from the aerobic. So if aerobic, we will get carbon dioxide energy, alright. But in fermentation, we will have byproduct. Okay, so byproduct, it depends on the organism that undergoes fermentation. If it's a human, okay, it will undergo fermentation. The human muscle cell, it undergo fermentation, then it will get the lactic acid. Okay, it will form lactic acid. Okay, as for yeast, the plant, okay, if we undergo fermentation, it will produce alcohol. Okay, how is the process to get? Okay, that one you can just find out. Okay, later on the process is quite, a bit complicated. Okay, just like aerobic. Okay, remember aerobic when I presented to you? Okay, I say the in detail process, you just know how the NADH is formed, FAD is formed. So that one you can just ignore. In detail, you can ignore first. Okay, unless you really want to know, you can just you can understand yourself and then only ask privately lah. Okay, but for fermentation, the same thing. Okay, in detail how pyruvate, okay, become lactic acid, how pyruvate become alcohol. Okay, that in detail you have to find out yourself if you're interested. If not, you just proceed with this first. Okay, so first thing, fermentation, there are two types, in human and in the yeast is different byproduct. So these are the products. Okay, then since the fermentation does not use, it's easy. So here, since fermentation does not use ETC, so some of the place, some of the book, they even consider this as a respiration. It's stand alone. Okay, I think your textbook, okay, they also didn't mention about anaerobic as fermentation. Okay, they just It's just a new title, just like say 7.3. Okay, so because they are not considered respiration, but yet it will produce energy. So it's very confusing there. Okay, maybe you can do some research on that. Okay, so now we have the example. Okay, for alcohol fermentation is done. Okay, or the example that we want to know is the yeast and also the paddy. Okay, the yeast and the paddy. So yeast, you know what's yeast? Okay, it's microorganism. Where can you use this? Bread making. So paddy, you know lah, for the rice. So generally, or in general, the equation is this. This C6H12O6 is glucose. Okay, this one you know. Okay, then this C2H5OH, this one is alcohol formula. Okay, the formula, chemical formula, and carbon dioxide. So that means to say in word, this is more important. Chemical equation is not really. Okay, so in word, glucose will produce when it undergo fermentation. It produce ethanol, carbon dioxide, and energy, which is a little bit different from aerobic. Okay, aerobic you don't have ethanol. Okay, you will have water, carbon dioxide, and energy. Okay, so let us see. Okay, what is ethanol? Yes, the word OL here is alcohol lah. That's why I highlight this. Okay, so ethanol in the yeast. Okay, used in making the beer and the wine. Okay, and also after fermentation, you see carbon dioxide release, right? So when the yeast release carbon dioxide, it makes the bread dough rise. Okay, that means the bread dough it will become fluffy. Okay, because of the carbon dioxide release. And then make sure you have, when you make your bread, you put some glucose for it into it. Okay, if not, there is no fermentation. Okay, the fermentation cannot happen without the glucose. Okay, now the second thing is paddy. Okay, paddy also produce ethanol. You know how the paddy is being planted. Okay, half of the paddy plant will be submerged in the water. Okay, so when it's in the water, the amount of oxygen is lesser. So that's the part that will undergo fermentation. So the alcohol that is produced into the plant, the water, and then it causes the plant to be toxic. Okay, it will make a toxic condition for the paddy. So what the paddy plant can do, okay, it is adapted, okay, by having the ability to produce dehydrogenase enzyme. Okay, alcohol dehydrogenase enzyme which will break down the ethanol into a non-toxic carbon dioxide. So meaning the paddy will have this adaptation to produce an enzyme to change the ethanol into carbon dioxide so that it will not be that toxic to the plant. Okay, so the next example is for the lactic acid. Okay, so lactic acid, we have two organisms here. One is the bacteria, lactobacillus. Okay, I think you know this name. You can find it in your cultured drink like Vitagen, Yakult. Okay, so these are the one that they add into the drink or the cultured drink. Okay, the word cultured means it has something inside. Okay, so human master cell is another example. Okay, so the equation is not for you to memorize, so don't worry. Okay, you have to know the word equation. So word equation, you just change the alcohol into lactate. Okay, so now glucose, lactate, carbon dioxide, and energy. Okay, so lactobacillus, what it is? So it's a bacteria. So I should italic it. Okay, because this is a name. Okay, so lactobacillus is a bacteria used in the production of yogurt. Okay, so we have in the yogurt, in the cultured drink. So what is the function of these bacillus, these bacteria? So the bacteria will turn the lactose into lactate. Lactate is lactic acid. And this lactic acid, the acid is sour. So the acid will coagulate casein. That means inside the milk, okay, the liquid milk, we have milk protein. So from after the lactobacillus carry out fermentation, they produce lactic acid, and this lactic acid will actually coagulate, stick, okay, make the protein inside the milk to stick together and become casein. Okay, so that is the meaning of coagulate and casein. Another thing is another different example is the human master cell. So human master cell, it will produce lactate during the vigorous exercise. So this one we will see again. Okay, at the back later. Okay, what is meant by produce vigorous exercise. Okay, how the lactic acid is being produced, not how the body adapt to this. Okay, lactic acid that accumulate in muscle cell is not good lah. Okay, so let us see. So so lactic acid is the toxic to human. Okay, it's not good. So it cause the muscle to feel hurt or pain. Okay, the sour taste, the sour feeling that you have after exercise is due to lactic acid. So how this lactic acid is being transferred or is being disposed, okay, carried away out from the body. Okay, firstly it has to transfer to the blood. Okay, from the blood, and then it's sent to the liver, and the liver it has to use some enzyme, okay, to convert it to hydrogen and water and carbon dioxide, and then carbon dioxide you can exhale, and then this one will be inside the body lah. Okay, that means from a very toxic substances into water and carbon dioxide. But in order to convert all this, you will need a lot of oxygen. Okay, so that's why after exercise, normally we need some time to rest. Okay, we have to breathe, increase the breathing rate. Okay, so that the more oxygens can be used to change or to convert the lactic acid into water and carbon dioxide. So this is the one that I got from your textbook. Okay, the comparison between aerobic, which one with the oxygen, and fermentation. Okay, so this is the one. So you can just read up, and then the amount of energy produced here, if you can, you memorize. If not, you just say this is more energy, this one is lesser energy. It's still okay. Okay, acceptable. Now, normally when we compare and contrast, you must know the similarity. Okay, the similarity and the differences. Okay, so this is the one from your textbook, so you just write down lah. It's very important. Okay, I have another slide here is to show the pathway. Okay, the pathway for fermentation and also aerobic respiration. So if after glycolysis you get to pyruvate, so if the pathway is without oxygen, it's called fermentation. Okay, if the pathway is with oxygen, it's aerobic. Okay, then if the pathway is without oxygen and then the receptor is not oxygen, it's anaerobic. Okay, so this is the diagram showing lah, just to know. So this one is also summary on fermentation and anaerobic. Okay, this one is not in your syllabus, yeah, you just to know how anaerobic different with fermentation. So you see the one that I mentioned just now is this one. Okay, I see this is the only different, but actually got others, but those are quite hard for you to understand lah. So you just take this one. Okay, you have take this as the, you take this one as the different, the main different. Citric acid cycle is Krebs cycle, yeah. Okay, this one 438 you just ignore. I mean, you just use the word lesser, more. Okay, more oxygen. And aerobic, because it will follow the cycle, so it still have more energy. Okay, more energy produced, and then ATP production in ATP is 4. Okay, then that's all. Okay, so the rest you just, if you cannot understand, it's okay. This is the main part. Okay, the main part that you when during vigorous exercise, okay, we will have the muscle. The muscle have to work harder, okay, to provide you with the movement. Okay, so when that happen, the amount of oxygen, okay, that is inhaled, okay, is not enough. Okay, so that means during the early stage, okay, of the exercise, it is the body have to supply more and more oxygen, but the amount that is supplied is not enough. So the condition is called the oxygen deficit. Okay, and then after that, okay, since you have deficit, means you will form the debt. Okay, you form the debt. So we see this graph that you have in your textbook. Okay, so beginning of the exercise. Okay, beginning of exercise. Okay, so you see, initially this is how amount of oxygen that you take in. Okay, this is the amount of oxygen. So when you start exercise, you will breathe harder. That means when you breathe harder, the amount of oxygen intake is increasing. But still, it doesn't meet the requirement of oxygen. You see, there is a requirement here. Okay, the one in red. So actually, you require your breathing rate should be shoot up suddenly, but it doesn't shoot up. You see, I mean, we will increase the breathing a bit faster, but it slowly become faster. It cannot be from breathing rate 10 and then become to 20. Okay, the minute you start exercise, your breathing become 20 per minute. No, right? So you will start breathing faster and faster, faster and faster. So your amount of oxygen intake is increasing, but it's not really sufficient for your muscle. So that will create a oxygen debt. So after that, when you stop exercising, all right, so that means you will still breathe quite fast. Okay, that is the time, but it's slowly. Okay, quite fast, but faster than the normal, but slower than the during when you do exercise that time. That means the amount of oxygen is decreasing. Okay, but still here you are breathing faster than the normal. Okay, so that is the time where we pay back the oxygen. So oxygen that is repaid. Okay, so what we can see here is nicer. Okay, yeah. So when you are resting, this is the amount of energy, oxygen. Okay, so when you breathe faster, you get more oxygen, but still not enough. Okay, after that, when you are in steady state, means you are resting or you are slowing down your exercise. Okay, so that time you still get quite a lot of oxygen, and this all will be paid to this. Okay, what we mean by pay? Pay means we change the lactic acid into carbon dioxide and water. Remember? So these are the oxygen that we'll use here. Okay, to change the lactic acid into the carbon dioxide and water. So I hope you understand that. Okay, oxygen deficiency is created when the temporary shortage of oxygen. Okay, so when we pay back, okay, we will use a lot of oxygen. We will need a lot of oxygen to pay back. Okay, so this is the credits, means which where I get some of the videos that I will show you later on. Okay, after the slide, okay, I will show you 2 videos. Okay, actually I got it from your textbook also. Okay, your textbook, there is 2 barcode there. You can just scan and then you get your video. So to make it easy, I just comprise together in this video lah. So you just watch. Okay, if you can understand better. If not, I think it will help you get some idea there. Okay, I see you again. Okay, here you hear me again. Alright, see you.
The cell needs to be able to harvest energy from glucose to get the usable energy, ATP. Whether oxygen is present or not, cells can always do glycolysis, which occurs in the fluid cytosol of the cell. No oxygen is needed for this. During glycolysis, the 6-carbon glucose molecule is broken in half and rearranged to make 2 pyruvic acid molecules. The process requires 2 ATP to get started, but ultimately it produces 4 ATP from ADP and phosphate, and it produces 2 NADH from NAD+. So overall, glycolysis makes 2 pyruvic acids, 2 ATP, and 2 NADH. From here, there are 2 possible pathways that could be taken. Cellular respiration always starts the same way, with glycolysis. From there, the 2 pathways are determined by the presence of oxygen. If there is no oxygen available, anaerobic respiration will occur. But if oxygen is available, aerobic respiration will occur in the mitochondria. Let's look at anaerobic respiration first. The anaerobic pathway has another name, fermentation. Fermentation is an anaerobic process that converts sugars to acids or gases or alcohols. It includes the glycolysis step in it. Fermentation replenishes the supply of NAD+ so that glycolysis can continue, creating 2 ATP from each glucose molecule. There are 2 types of fermentation. There's alcoholic fermentation and lactic acid fermentation. In lactic acid fermentation, pyruvic acid is converted to a chemical called lactic acid. The process changes NADH back to NAD+, so that glycolysis can continue and produce the 2 net ATP. Fermentation itself doesn't create any ATP, it's just keeping the glycolysis running. Our muscles use lactic acid fermentation when there's not enough oxygen to do aerobic respiration. Your muscles will feel cramped and painful, but this pain will go away as soon as you get enough oxygen back to your muscles so that you can go back into aerobic respiration. Other organisms use a different pathway and create an alcohol and carbon dioxide instead of lactic acid from pyruvic acid. Again, they still make NAD+ for glycolysis to use, but the pathway is a little different. Yeast will undergo alcoholic fermentation, and we use it to our advantage when making bread or beer. The alcohol and bubbles in beer are made by the yeast through alcoholic fermentation. When bread dough is left to rise, the rising comes from the production of carbon dioxide bubbles in fermentation. The alcohol in the bread cooks off in the baking process. Now, anaerobic respiration is not actually very good at making ATP. It relies on just the 2 ATP that can be made from glycolysis. But if oxygen is present, aerobic respiration will occur. And it's an ATP-producing machine. Aerobic respiration takes place in the mitochondria of eukaryotic cells and in the cytosol of prokaryotic cells. After glycolysis occurs in the cytosol and pyruvic acid is attached to coenzyme A, there are 2 major parts: the Krebs cycle, also known as the citric acid cycle, and the electron transport chain, which is paired with chemiosmosis. This last step is where oxygen is used. During the Krebs cycle, 2 ATP and the gas carbon dioxide are produced. The carbon dioxide will eventually diffuse out of the cell. This is why we breathe out carbon dioxide. The electron transport chain and chemiosmosis take place in the folded inner membrane of the mitochondria called the cristae. In the end, aerobic respiration can make up to 38 total ATP, theoretically, but usually it's a bit less than that, more like 30 to 32 ATP. So the final reaction is glucose plus oxygen yields 6 CO2 and 6 water, plus energy in the form of ATP. And lots of it. Thanks for watching this episode of Teacher's Pet. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and follow me on Twitter @SciencePet.
Welcome to Moo Moo Math and Science. In this video, I'd like to talk about fermentation, also called anaerobic respiration. Sometimes cells need to produce energy whenever oxygen is not present. A solution to this is called fermentation, and it provides energy for cells without using oxygen. It is also called anaerobic respiration. It does produce energy, but it is less efficient than aerobic respiration that uses oxygen. There are 2 types of fermentation: alcoholic fermentation and lactic acid fermentation. The first type I'd like to talk about, alcoholic fermentation, occurs in plants and yeast whenever oxygen is not present. The cell takes glucose, technically pyruvic acid, and it is converted into ethanol, which is a type of alcohol, and then some carbon dioxide and energy. This is how many wines and beer are created. The other type occurs in animals, including humans. What happens with this is you take glucose, again technically pyruvic acid, and it's converted into lactic acid plus energy. This occurs when the cell needs energy and there's just not enough oxygen. To get an idea of how inefficient fermentation is, during aerobic respiration, 36 ATPs are produced per glucose, and in fermentation, only 2 ATPs are produced. So there we go, 2 types of fermentation, alcoholic and lactic acid, but they're helpful because it helps to create energy when there's no oxygen around. Thanks for watching, and Moo Moo Math uploads a new math and science video every day.